I think we're going to go ahead and call the 34th annual meeting of EJ Water Cooperative to order. There's a few people still coming in. We appreciate everybody being here this evening. Thank you for making the trip. We're going to begin the meeting with the national anthem. We ask everyone to stand. Gentlemen, please remove your hats. Our national anthem will be sung by Abby Harmon and Kinsley Douthit. Abby is the daughter of Derek Harmon and Michelle and Luke Dial. Kinsley is the daughter of Lance and Crystal Douthit.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Abby and Kinsley. Please remain standing just for a second here. We're going to bring Brody Will forward for an invocation. Brody's the son of Dwayne and Christy. Brody?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our co-op community. We ask that you watch over this meeting and its success, and look not just over those here this afternoon, but EJ Water and all of its communities. As we go about this meal, we thank you for all that you have provided us with. In your name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Brody. Now we can be seated now. I guess some of you, my name's Jimmy Ayers. I'm the vice chairman of EJ Water Board. Chris was involved, his nephew was involved in a ball game today and had other details that we needed to take care of. At this time, we'd like to recognize our veterans for their service. If you're a veteran, would you please stand? You want to remain standing if you would. We thank you for your commitment to our country and our safety. We appreciate your sacrifices as you protect our freedom and keep us safe. We have a small gift we would like to give you, so if you remain standing, our staff will bring it to you. They're going to shoot them around. Here we go. Come on. They're standing waiting for you. The veterans are standing. All you guys bringing them in, that'd be great. think at this time they're gonna catch up with some names. Okay. Can they just come to you after the meeting? Those of you that are standing, we've tapped our blanket supply out, and we certainly want to make sure that you get one. So if you see Wendy after the meeting, we'll get your name and number and make sure it comes to you. I cut us off a little bit a while ago, but thank all these veterans again. This time we'd like to have a moment of silence. We want to think of all the people we've lost in the co-op. We especially think of Clarence Vowling this past year as a board member. Darlene Mimoser was the first employee of EJ Water, and anybody that you've lost. We're going to take a moment of silence at this time. As we move on with the meeting, got a few special guests that we'd like to mention. We have Tim Taylor, the mayor of Witt. Tim, Tim's got his hand up over here. We've got past board members Monty Van Dyke and Bob Provost over here. We also have county board chair from Effingham County. We have Ernest Garby, who's the past chair. Ernest over here, and Carol Willenberg. And if there's others in here we missed, I'm sorry. You would like to be mentioned, we can do that. Okay, I'd like to take some time to go through a few housekeeping items. For those here in person, the restrooms can be found out the door and to the right. Those that are attending via Zoom, please note you will be muted for the entirety of the event and do not have to turn your camera on if you do not wish to. If you have any questions or comments, you can message through the Zoom chat. We will be monitoring the chat throughout the evening. If a specific question is unable to be answered by the representatives, they will note the question and we will get an answer to you as soon as possible. I'd ask you now to take your attention to our secretary, Gail Garby, as she reports on the numbers of the members present. Gail?
Thank you, Jimmy. In accordance with the bylaws of the cooperative, there are 182 members in person, 46 members via Zoom, and 107 members by proxy for a total of 488 members. Therefore, quorum has been met. I, the undersigned, Gail Garby, Secretary of EJ Water Cooperative Incorporated, do hereby certify that EJ Water Cooperative, Inc. did on the 21st day of February 2023 cause to be placed in the United States mail at the post office in Springfield, Illinois, postage fully prepaid, a notice of annual meeting of members of EJ Water Cooperative, Inc., addressed to each member of said cooperation as of January 17th, at the respective post office addresses of each, as shown on the records of said cooperation in accordance with the bylaws of the cooperation. At this time, we will move forward with the reading of the annual meeting minutes. A copy of the 2022 annual meeting minutes has been provided to each member in the annual meeting booklet. In lieu of reading the 2022 annual meeting minutes, I would request a motion to be dispensed with the reading of the minutes and approve them as printed. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve them as printed? I got it first. Is there a second? Thank you. Oh, names. One of them was Lou Yokes. Mike Radel. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The motion to dispense with the reading and the approval of the 2022 annual meeting minutes has carried. The next order of business is our financial report to be given by our treasurer, Diana Herron.
Good evening. You'll find the treasurer's report for 2022 on the back of your agenda. It's also on the screen if you'd like to follow along. As of September 2021, cash savings and certificates of deposits totaled $4,585,659. Total receipts for the year equaled $20,228,430, and total disbursements equaled $20,487,228, leaving a net decrease in cash and cash equivalents of $258,798. Therefore, cash, savings, and certificates of deposits as of September 30th, 2022 totaled $4,326,861. Thank you.
We'll provide a little bit of a president's report here. You know, co-op is you and I and everybody in here, and there's many benefits to the co-op. We actually operate in a non-profit status, which means we're not here to make a bunch of money. We're here to fill the members' needs, and that's what we try to do every day. There is a little bit of give and take on this. Members, you have to help us too. I mean, we are member-owned and we have a voice. You're going to vote on directors tonight. It gives you the opportunity to put someone else in if you so desire. Part of what you can help us do is when we require funding for about everything that we do, and many times during the figuring out the mechanisms that fund all the pipe that we put in the ground and anything else that we do, we need to show that there's underserved and served areas, often refocusing on low and moderate income areas. There's health and safety concerns in areas. And if you have the opportunity to help us complete income surveys and provide health and safety letters, it really helps us in going forward with a grant application that allows us to get low interest money or even money given to us. This helps you, and it also helps the community around us. We're also required to collect routine lead and copper samples for the Illinois EPA. As we grow, we are expanding our sample sites. If you meet the necessary requirements, would you please volunteer? We have a short survey you can take to see if you qualify. If you contact our office via chat or by calling our staff, they'll get you the link to finish the survey. Another requirement of the EPA is implementing is a water service line audit. This mandate that EJ must report what material the service line is from the meter to the house on all locations in our service territory. Since EJ did not install these lines, we'll be working with the homeowners to verify this information. In order to complete this task by spring of 2024, we will be partnering with 120 Water. 120 Water is a company that will be reaching out to all the homeowners to verify what material their water service line is made of and develop a report. If a member would have a lead or copper-based service line and need to have them be removed, EJ will provide that service for a minimal cost. EJ's also focused on giving back to communities. EJ Water supplies local schools with fun and educational resources, such as our Water Festival boxes, to help kids on topics such as water, wastewater, and water conservation. Last year, we supplied boxes to schools in 9 different counties, reaching over 1,200 students. And I think you really ought to be proud of yourselves for being able to affect and visit with that many kids. We also host tours at our water treatment plants for students in several of the county CEO programs and Effingham Regional Career Academy. This allows us not only to highlight the importance of the water treatment process, but also enlighten students on job opportunities within our industry. Providing resources when we can. We understand that many local communities have, when it comes to people, equipment, and capital, we work to help in many ways. We provide employees volunteer hours to join programs such as Meals on Wheels, mentoring at local schools, donating blood, and other volunteer opportunities. We have helped communities with cleanup after storms, have come through and provide equipment and labor. In 2019, EJ formed a foundation with the help of CoBank. CoBank is one of our major lending sources. CoBank has a program called Sharing Success. The Sharing Success program allows us to put up $10,000, and CoBank gives us $10,000 to match it. And then we are able to take that money out and give it to different places. Since its beginning, which we've done for 4 years, we've got $64,000 put into projects, and we've still got $16,000 left to utilize. Top projects that have been involved: the Wright Family Center's got $20,000 over 2 years. There was $5,000 went to the Jasper County 4-H barn. There are 5 different CEO programs in 5 different counties that we put $1,000 each year in for 3 years in a row. A lot of stuff going on at EJ. I think you can be proud, and we appreciate every bit of the employees and the management and staff around here. They do a fantastic job. If there's a problem, they correct it quickly, and it shows. Our mission is to improve the quality of life the cooperative way. And to us, that means helping the members and communities that make up our cooperative. We thank you for being a valued member of our co-op, and we look forward to serving you in the future. And now I'll give you the opportunity to hear from Bill Techmiller, our CEO. Bill?
Thanks, Jimmy, and I appreciate a great turnout. I mean, I was first time we've met since COVID. Can you believe it? We've done the hybrid, which we're excited about. I don't know if hybrid's ever going to go away, so we've got several people on Zoom, but we do appreciate a great turnout, so thank you for that. As was mentioned, is welcome to everybody. One of the key things I want to mention is your faith. The faith of you as members, having faith in the board, and the board, of course, having faith in our leadership team. We do have an ongoing strategic plan, so as we as a co-op have grown, we've had to actually do a lot more planning than we ever have, and so in that document lays out basically a 3 to 4 year plan that we kind of execute, and so we appreciate the board's support and your support in that. One of the things that I wanted to mention in particular, you can't do anything without leadership. You can't do anything without people development. We've got technology to thank, and it's driving us for efficiency. But one thing is a culture that we try to implement is not to have fear. Does anybody have fear at times where you're afraid to do something, or you're nervous about something, or you want to be overly cautious? This is not the kind of business to execute if you're fearful, because as Jimmy mentioned, so many new regulations are coming on board. Much of it's good, but more and more compliance is coming our way. Thank the regulators for that. But the point is, you can't be fearful of what tomorrow looks like. And so I'm confident that the board, as well as our team, has the skills necessary to continue to execute going forward. One thing I want to recognize is our board, as well as we have some 50 employees that make what we do every day seem simple. And if you could give both a round of applause, I'd appreciate it. So I wanted to talk about, since the last time we've had an annual meeting, there's been several large projects that we completed. First is the United Regional Water. Some of you have heard about that. That was a project built west of Decatur, and that's a brand new water plant, some $12–13 million. It's a different co-op, but we are a member of that co-op, and it serves about 600 of our members in the very northern parts of our system. And the idea of the United Regional Water was not only partnering with our members, but we got about 5 other towns that go in together. And the reason we did all that is, again, more together, you save money, it becomes a lot more economically feasible. So great project, took a lot of years to get through that. Thank goodness much of it was built really prior to a lot of the supply chain issues with COVID, but we did get it on last fall, and it's made a tremendous difference up there. The other thing that is not talked a lot about is our wastewater. So you'll see some of the branding that's coming out lately. You'll see EJ Water, you'll see EJ Wastewater. You're like, what the heck is wastewater? We now have about 2,000 customers on wastewater. That's not really in rural. What's happening is smaller towns are getting out of the business, and we're folding that into the family, if you will, of what EJ's doing. It's always, laughingly called the other cousin of water, but it is a very important environmental concern that we maintain proper wastewater in our area. Some that live in this area may be aware we're moving a lot of dirt over here by Beecher City. It's some 700 yards of dirt, to be somewhat accurate. Is that about right? 700,000. Did I say 700? Yeah, a couple of zeros behind that. And so just so you know what that number means, it's about 13 yards per truckload, on a semi. So it's a lot of semi-loads. And what this is, it's a 100-day supply of water. The purpose of it is in case of drought, and that raw water that we get to the plant is actually coming from Holland Energy. And so ironically, next month, we're going to have, the plant's having a planned outage for a few days. And so that's going to be kind of exciting around EJ, because that's the main raw water source into the Delbert Munt plant. So having this 100-day supply will be a major insurance policy because of drought. If we had a major drought, we basically have enough water for about 100 days. And usually it rains around here, and thank goodness we're in the Midwest. But that's a big, big project going on. Next is we're completing a fall project for those that live up in the Shelby, Christian County area. We erected a new water tower outside of Pana, and we put in a pretty large trunk line to deliver more and more water out of the Delbert Munt plant up towards the northwest of our system. We have outgrown what we originally had some 10, 15 years ago. And also, for those that remember Lincoln Prairie, when Lincoln Prairie and EJ joined together, a lot of those original lines of Lincoln Prairie were smaller. And that's one of the things about the ability to well, she loves this idea, yeah, of getting into a larger family. You can expand and grow what's needed. The next thing is kind of an exciting thing. You'll hear more and more about this. Last fall, we were able to access a new funding source, and it's the Water Resource Development Act. It's called WRDA. The government always uses acronyms. But it's an exciting new funding source for us, and we just received the authority last fall. And the purpose of these funds, in about 75% of it's grant money, so we all love grant money. It'll keep rates more affordable. But it'll allow us to double the treatment plant at Delbert, as well as do some more environmental work in terms of a new intake structure and raw water lines. So we're excited about that new funding source, because it will impact us in the next, it's a longer term thing, 2 to 10 years. So it's going to take us a while to get that going. I also wanted to mention, and I know Andy will talk a little bit about this, our keynote, but we've got challenges, and what business doesn't have challenge? No matter what business you're in, there's always challenges ahead of us. We're no different. Capital costs, I was talking to someone earlier, just 4-inch pipe now is $4 a foot. I mean, not that long ago it was $1. So it's about $60,000 per mile now. Excuse me. Can you hear me on the back? Okay, by the way? Yeah, I got thumbs up. Good. No one sleeping? Okay. Oh, 2 people are sleeping. Anyway, it's $60,000 a mile now to put a water line in. And I've been at this about 20 years, and back then it was about 20, 25,000. So man, has the math changed. And when you only talk about 4 customers a mile, the math really doesn't work too good. So it's a challenge that we all are going to have to face. The other issue is workforce. As you guys know, my wife tells me quite often I have gray hair. You guys see that, right? See, I knew you guys had good eyes. And so I'm not going to be here, forever. There's more years kind of behind me than in front of me. And so we've got this tsunami coming of retirees. And we have to really go after the next generation to get involved in our business and we as a co-op are really working hard at developing the next generation. But there seems to be less and less people. So now we're going after less and less folks as a supply. So this workforce issue will be a challenge. And then operating costs. Who hasn't gone to the grocery store lately and noticed it's unbelievable? I think Walmart, the minimum is $300, as near as I can tell. And so my point is, it's affected us in energy costs. It's affected us, obviously, in gas and fuel. All across the board, our chemical bills have almost doubled. And it's just crazy the impact of costs has had in our operation. And then, of course, the other thing is this boogeyman. I call it the cybersecurity stuff. And it's crazy because we are faced with meeting new and increased regulations in that particular area, and it's not going to go away. So that's something that's coming. But a couple of remarks I wanted to make quickly is, this journey that we've been on is actually kind of amazing. And I mentioned my gray hair, so part of that is, for those that may get more self-reflective as we get older, I'm doing the same thing. And it's amazing what we've accomplished. And I was saying something earlier. It's because of all of you folks that this works. It's not just me. It's not just the board. It's not just our leaders. It's all of us collectively working for a larger vision. And it's made a big difference because have we really impacted really South Central Illinois? This dream, and I was sharing with someone earlier in the day, the whole thing really started very humbly with Delbert Munt. Folks have heard that name over the past. Folks like P.B. Finley is our original board member that's retiring off the board. And so the point is, folks like P.B. and Delbert and others that were fortunate enough to help found us, they had this bigger vision of really making a difference. And I hope, that we succeeded, and been proud to be a part of that. The other thing I wanted to see, she's had it. So this is a wrap-up. Two things I wanted to mention. Capital funding. We've had some great partnerships through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Boy, that's a mouthful. DCO is what it's commonly called. And so that's still been a huge lifeblood for us, as well as rural development, which is the USDA program. So can't say enough about the USDA folks. And then CoBank's already been mentioned earlier. Those are our primary sources of funds. Also, I would be remiss to not mention back in the day when we were not really a sure thing, a lot of banks like People's State Bank of Newton, Dietrich Bank, Midland States Bank, Clay County State Bank, and then the First State, I always get that mixed up, First State Bank of Beecher City. Wow. Those banks took a big chance on us when we weren't a sure thing. So I want to thank those banks for having faith in us, and it's worked out really well. I also want to mention our partnerships. We've got an enormous amount of partnerships with the counties, also the cities, towns, and villages that we serve. And of course, without those partnerships, we can't do what we need to do. So we need a lot of cooperation, both in right-of-way, access, and helping each other. And many of those communities have helped sponsor pass-through grants for us, so I can't say enough about how much that's helped us. So in closing, it's always been an honor and a privilege to serve you, and thank you for believing in us and allowing us to succeed. So I have the great honor of introducing a good friend of mine, a colleague, Andy Richardson, and it's quite a lengthy bio, so this is going to take about an hour to get through the bio. But just some highlights. So Andy Richardson is the former chairman and chief executive officer of Greeley & Hansen. So Greeley & Hansen originally was from Chicago, which is a good thing, by the way. So I know. Yeah. But Greeley & Hansen was a large firm that was in Latin America as well as offices throughout North America. And he's been with there some 4.5 decades. Also, he retired as the recent CEO and chairman of the board. But, Richardson worked on almost every aspect of engineering projects, such as feasibility studies. This is a lot to get through. Design, construction, startups. He's just done a lot. When I met him, he's been involved about every major water, wastewater project from New York to L.A. to Houston to Tucson to Phoenix, of course, Chicago. He's just been involved in so many projects, and so he's a wealth of knowledge. He's also authored some 70 technical papers. He speaks not only nationally but internationally as well. So I'd be remiss to get through all this. But Andy, I appreciate you coming and taking time out of there. He's going to do it in Spanish. And so this is it'll be a good thing for us. But Andy Richardson, please.
Thank you, Bill, for that kind introduction. And I just want to tell you how humbled I am to be here before you tonight, because I'm sure other people have come and said how exceptional you guys are. And what I'd like to do tonight is explain why you guys are exceptional and your reputation precedes you. And I can start out by telling you how exceptional you are, because I had the opportunity to meet with some of your board members. And I'm going to share with you right now how wise they are. And again, I just met them only a little while ago, and they said, Andy, you know you need to follow the 3 B's of public speaking. Be brief, be prepared, and be seated. But I'm back. So I think your board has demonstrated this incredible responsibility in the water industry that was declared at the beginning of the turn of the century. And some of you may be aware of this quote. Fortune magazine said this. They said, water promises to be to the 21st century what oil was to the 20th century, the precious commodity that determines the wealth of nations. So here we are, almost a quarter in to the 21st century. How are we doing? Well, I'm here to suggest to you tonight that the EJ Water Cooperative has done an exceptional job. And they've done an exceptional job because of your business model, because of your governance, and because of your CEO. And what I'd like to do is explain that in maybe 3 buckets or 3 areas. The first is, it is clear through the years, on behalf of you, the members, they have taken this responsibility to heart by their actions and deeds. And I know this to be true, as I said moments ago, because there's a lot of people, a lot of entities that want to emulate what you're doing. The second is, I want to point out to you, and Bill just alluded to, how truly exceptional you are because of the current operating environment that you're operating in. We are operating in an environment like no other time in the history of water, and there are drivers and there are issues afoot that are shaping the future. And so I know that through the leadership of your board and Bill, the idea is, how do we prepare for that future? And I think Abraham Lincoln said it best. He said, if you want to predict the future, create it. And then also, based on this exceptional legacy of service above self-interest, the thinking and getting up in the morning and know the first thing I want to do is take care of you, the ratepayers. I think when you look at these opportunities and when you look at these challenges and you look at these trends, I'm reminded of Winston Churchill, who once said, a pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty, and I would say that your board has emulated that. So several years ago, again, as I started in the industry, I was 6, so that's why I've been in it for so long. I was fortunate with a group of others to lead the American Water Works strategic planning effort. And so one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to figure out what were those trends and what were the issues that utilities were facing to be able to continue to provide service to their members and their ratepayers. And we came up with 10. And the first one, which was known as the dawn of the replacement era. And what that is about is reinvesting in our utilities, reinvesting in our infrastructure. And what we realized is the need is $1 trillion over the next several decades on the water side, $1 trillion on the wastewater side. The second trend that we need to be aware of, and Bill mentioned this, it's called the wave of regulations. Now, when I came into the industry, the things that were being regulated, what could kill you today. What we're regulating today is what can kill you 50, 60 years from now, which actually is a good thing. The third trend is that we're seeing is reorganization, consolidation, and collaboration. We're seeing also the fourth trend is how important all of you are. That we have to understand what is the expectation of the customer. If we don't get that right, we don't get anything right. The other thing that's happening, and this is affecting everything, it's the rapid information technology advances. It's AI, artificial intelligence, robotics. It changes everything. And it creates an incredible opportunity how we can run our business. The seventh trend is this move towards, and Bill just mentioned it about wastewater, but it's not going to be water. It's not going to be wastewater. It's going to be one water managed from a watershed perspective. The next trend is the work environment change. Whether we like it or not, and some of us don't like it, we do get a little bit older. And so what we have is a demographic issue where we have a war on talent. And I'm here to tell you, talent is winning. It's going to win every day. The second to the last one is climate change. And when I talk about climate change, something is happening, but it also has to do with the energy-water nexus. It creates energy to move water, but you need a lot of water to create energy. And then lastly, which is extremely important, is business issues that help us pay for all of those. So again, we started out and we said, people said, how do you know those are the trends? And then we looked at each other and said, well, here's an idea. Why don't we ask the utility directors? They can tell us what's top of mind and what's important to them. You know, we didn't know. So what that was the genesis of a report in 2004, which is called the AWWA State of the Water Industry Report. It's prepared each year. It's free. You can go to the website. The 2023 one, I believe, is out right now. But what's really significant about that report, based on those trends I just mentioned to you, there's only two that have risen to the top and have remained constant over the last several years. And those two are the reinvestment in repair and replace, and more importantly, how we're going to pay for it. So what that means, we are operating in a very interesting dynamic in the industry because those trends and keep evolving. The trends keep having different priorities, and some of you may be familiar with this term. As Bill said, the government likes to come up with a lot of terms. We are operating in what is known as a VUCA environment, and what VUCA stands for is volatility, which refers to the speed of change. The speed of change right now is accelerating more rapidly than ever before. Uncertainty, which refers to the extent that we have confidence in the ability to predict the future and understand something. C is complexity, which refers to the number of factors that you have to balance at any one time, and the last one is ambiguity. So why is this important? It's important because it affects the mindset of those individuals that we're asking to lead us. So the other thing that we did is we said, oh, here's an idea. Let's ask them what their mindset is. And so starting in 2004, we asked utility directors a very simple question. Are we going to be better off 5 years from now than we were today? Initially, up until the financial crisis, we were blessed with extremely optimistic utility directors. They all thought that the future was going to be better. After the financial crisis, that shift, and just up until 2018, they were back to optimism again. And unfortunately, I think we all know the pandemic had a wee bit of an impact. And so now, I would submit that they're going to move back to optimism. And I know this to be true based on some things I'm going to share with you right now. So again, back to the American Water Works Association, they said, how can we help the customers and how can we help the utility directors provide what they need for their ratepayers? And what they came up with was an initiative called AWWA Water 2050 Initiative. And what that's about is looking at those trends and coming up with themes and drivers in 5 areas to address those trends, but more importantly, in 2050, what will the industry look like and what is it that utility managers and boards of governors are going to be doing? So the 5 areas that they're looking at is sustainability, technology, economics, governance, and socio-demographics. Now I'm going to explain, these are all obviously interrelated, but I'm just going to take 2 of them very quickly. And there are these various think tanks that have been held around the country. The first one on technology was really quite fascinating, and the young professionals pointed this out to me, because when I was making my remarks there, I was talking about I was an old design engineer, and they said, no, you're seasoned. And I immediately thought of Famous Dave's barbecue rub, so I don't know if that's what they were talking about. But so what is it that we mean by technology? In my case, as a seasoned design engineer, the first thing I think about is physical, chemical, biological treatment. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 3 different buckets. One is inside the fence, which is the treatment, but now taking advantage of smart bacteria, taking advantage of designer membranes, taking advantage of anything that will prolong the life of those assets. And if you look at those $1 trillion that I talked about, 40% of that need is inside the fence. The second area is in the distribution system and operations, which is 60% of the need. And this is where the real action can take place. It's a real-time monitoring of water quality. It's having non-invasive ways to do repair and replace. It's having non-invasive ways to install new facilities, rainwater harvesting, so the whole opportunity. But the area that probably has the greatest promise going forward is on the business side, the third bucket. And that's really getting into AI, artificial intelligence. It's getting into information technology. It's getting into robotics. It's being able to manage systems at appropriate pressures, so you're getting your return on investment. You're managing your O&M costs. And so what we talk about, those technologies in those three areas will only be limited by the limit of the imagination of the water industry professional. It's really go out and figure out what you need to do. Now, I know you all came here this evening to hear a few different things, and I'm sure you all remember this from your days in school. Everybody loves a pop quiz, right? No? I got that wrong. Okay. But I'm going to ask you, what do these four businesses have in common? And this is clearly a rhetorical question. What does Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, and Alibaba is a large retailer, have in common? Well, I think we're all familiar with those. What they have done is created a tremendous disruptive change. And the way they did that is they identified a need that was not fulfilled, that it turns out people wanted. The second thing that they recognized is they have a relationship with the customer. They have a relationship with the customer in a way that, like any other, they also do not in some ways have physical assets, and they also realize that they have a brand, just like I just shared with you that EJ Water has a brand that they've positioned very uniquely and have figured out how to monetize. And lastly, what they did is they created a new business model that some could suggest that the water industry could learn from. So let's just review really quickly. So if you think about the evolution of the water industry, and you think about it in the evolution of a lot of industry, it started out as assets builders. You had to build an asset, you had to build a factory, you had to build a treatment plant, and then you could deliver water. The next evolution was to service providers. I like to say it was engineers, accountants. I'm not going to mention lawyers because some people get excited when I mention that as a service. But anyways, I shouldn't do that. And then the next business model was technology creators, people that figured out how to sell intellectual capital. Those four entities that I just mentioned to you created this model without any assets, really, are what is known as network orchestrators. And they understood by their brand being positioned that they could create relationships and collaborations to go out and fill needs that other people weren't filling. So if you think about our industry, and I believe EJ is already doing that, what an opportunity. So that came out of the first think tank was how do you put a business model, the technology think tank, so that people embrace it. I just happened to be in Washington last week, and what we were discussing there was one of the other think tanks, which is governance. And when you think about governance, depending on your experience, people say, well, isn't governance regulations? Well, it could be, but governance is also how a body of fiduciary is structured to operate a business or to operate a utility. And so one of the things that you start putting these pieces together, the trends I mentioned to you, technology and now governance, how do those all come into play? Well, if you have governance that is risk averse and it can have you become early adopters of technology, now you're going to get somewhere. And so one of the other big things that came out, I mentioned regionalization and consolidation. A lot of the discussion was about going back to the future, which was a big idea that came out. And that idea was an idea that was born in 1974. When we in this country talk about 1974, we talk about the Safe Drinking Water Act. But what was happening across the pond in Britain, they had 12,000 utilities, and they said, we need to consolidate. And we only need to use two criteria. The first criteria would be services, so they consolidated water, wastewater, stormwater. And the second criteria would be true to Newton's first law. I just had to look this up today. It's gravity, just so everybody knows. And so the second law of gravity means we would do things from a river basin perspective. And so what happened in the UK, they went from 1,200 utilities to 10. Here, as I stand before you tonight in the United States, we have 54,000 water utilities. We have 16,000 wastewater utilities. The big idea that came out of Washington last week is that we need to use that same criteria and consolidate down to 78 utilities based on either river basins or sub-basins. And I would submit to you that based on the unique brand that EJ Water has, there's an incredible opportunity to use that brand elsewhere and help with solving this problem. So I think there's 3 questions you got to ask as a utility, and EJ, this might be a question EJ may have to ask itself. Based on the certainty of the trends, getting outside of the VUCA, what is it that we can anticipate that must be addressed, and how do we use the 80-20 rule to understand our strengths and focus 80% of our effort on that 20% that's going to help propel us forward? The second question you got to ask, what is there in the trends that create opportunities? Thinking in terms of both our good friend Lincoln and our good friend Churchill, how do we create a future that is opportunistic? And so it's thinking about your unique characteristics and how do you use those. And the last one is to look where other people aren't looking, because it's really easy to follow someone, but those 4 entities I mentioned to you looked where nobody else looked. So in summary, that's good news, right? Summary, that means I'm closing. The water utility of the future is probably going to perform the same functions that they're performing today, but it's probably going to be in a different structure. It's probably going to be using all these technologies that I mentioned put forward. But the only way that we're going to get there is by having great governance like you guys have, and by having an exceptional CEO like you have, and that's what makes you exceptional. And I think it's also, and Bill mentioned this, it's having a leadership mindset that embraces what needs to be done now. Because those opportunities by the trends are not going to be there long, and someone else, if some entities don't do it, someone else will. So I would say it's forward thinking, and it's also this incredible characteristic that I know your board members have. I just got the chance to visit with them. I know Bill has it. I know many of you, well, probably all of you in this room have it. And it's this characteristic that is in the DNA of people who have been fortunate to work in this industry. When they get up in the morning, they don't have to decide to do something noble today, because they do it every day for people they care about, and it's this characteristic of service above self-interest. So if we look at those trends, we figure out how to take advantage of them, and we look to the future and say, this is where we're going. It doesn't matter where we've been. What an opportunity to go forward. And I will close with reminding you of the sage advice of the great strategic planner, prognosticator, a guy that also happened to catch for the New York Yankees, a guy by the name of Yogi Berra, and he was always talking about the future. And what Yogi Berra said, that if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up someplace else. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Andy. Next, we're going to have our report of the nominating committee from Tracy Willenberg. Tracy?
Good evening, everyone. Tracy Willenberg. I'm with Taylor Law Offices. During this portion of the meeting, we're going to be requesting that members participate to ensure that I have the correct information. I'm going to ask that when you make a motion, after you make a motion or a second motion, if you could please state your full name loud enough so that we can hear and put it in the minutes. The bylaws of EJ Water Cooperative provide that members of the Board of Directors shall be elected from the members at each annual meeting of members. The directors shall serve for a term of 3 years or until their successors have been elected and qualified. At each annual meeting, the members shall elect for a term of 3 years the number of directors whose terms of office have expired. The bylaws further provide that it is the duty of the Board of Directors to appoint not less than 30 days nor more than 90 days before the annual meeting of members a committee on nominations consisting of not less than 6 nor more than 9 members who shall be elected so as to give equitable representation on the committee to the geographical areas served by the corporation. The nominating committee was appointed at the January meeting of the board, and the nominating committee met on January 30th, 2023. They're having a lot more fun than what the nominating committee. We need to liven it up here. The nominating committee did meet on January 30th, 2023, and a copy of the 2023 report of the nominating committee was included in the annual meeting mailing. In lieu of reading the full entirety of the minutes of the nominating committee word for word, I would entertain a motion to dispense with such reading and approve the report as provided. Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the nominating committee minutes? Sir, your full name? Did someone hear that? Nick Winnie? Nick Winnie? Do I have a second? Second. Sir? Dan Niemerg. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of dispensing with the reading of the minutes and approving them as provided, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. A list of nominations for the board of directors was posted at the corporate office of EJ Water Cooperative, Incorporated. The bylaws do further provide that nominations for the members of the board of directors may be made from the floor at the meeting of members. At this time, I would ask if there are any nominations from the floor.
Can I nominate myself?
You can nominate yourself.
Cody Christian Hare.
Okay.
Last name's spelled H-E-E-R, from Casey.
And as far as Casey, are you in Clark County or Cumberland County? Okay, Cumberland County. And that, can you spell your name again, last name?
Cody, C-O-D-Y, Christian
H-E-E-R, okay. And you're in Cumberland County, and that's the location of your membership?
Correct.
Do you have any other properties?
I have oil and gas properties.
But any other properties that are served by the corporation?
No.
Okay, just the one in Cumberland County? And the reason why I'm asking you is I'm trying to figure out what district you would qualify for.
Yeah, 3 miles west of Casey, just a half mile south of Highway 40.
But it's in Cumberland County. Okay, so Cumberland County is part of District 1. Okay, so Cody Hare has nominated himself. Any other nominations? Thank you, sir. Any other nominations? Hearing none. The nominees designated by the Committee on Nomination to serve for a term of 3 years are Gail Garby as the District 1 representative, Jeff Wilson as District 2 representative. As you've heard, PB Finley has decided that he's ready to move full-time employment again. And Jimmy Ayers as the District 3 representatives. Because we have multiple nominations for a District 1 representative, before we proceed, can I get a motion to close the nominations? Sir, your full name? Is Dick Winnie. Second? Sir, your full name? Arthur Ewing. Thank you, sir. All in favor of closing the nominations? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay. So because we do have multiple nominations in District 1, I need to explain how we're going to proceed with elections for each type of attendee. Okay, so the in-person, you will be handed a ballot. Now, let me remind you, spouses are considered one member, and you only, no matter how many properties you have served, you only have one membership. So spouses or members of the same household only get one ballot. I'm going to ask the staff of EJ Water, they're going to take the time to hand out the ballots. Let me remind you who you'll be voting for. It will be either Gail Garby or Cody Hare, and Cody is Codyheer, as the District 1 representative, Jeff Wilson as the District 2 representative, and Jimmy Ayers as the District 3 representative. Ballots will be handed out. You will need to vote by ballot this year, okay? Now, that explains in person. We also have attendees by Zoom. Those attending by Zoom, if you would like to participate on the vote for directors, I would ask in the comment section, Bill explained how you can make comment. I would ask in the comment section that you designate who you want to vote for District 1. Again, Gail Garby or Cody Hare for District 1, Jeff Wilson as District 2, and Jimmy Ayers as District 3. Designate that in the comment and make sure that you hit send so that we can properly identify your vote if you want to participate in the vote. I'm going to give you those at Zoom. I'm going to give 10 minutes to participate in submitting your vote for directors because it's going to take us a little bit of time to pass out the ballots, collect the ballots here in person, and then count the ballots. So that takes care of in-person and Zoom. Finally, we do have members participating in proxy. Those have already been designated on the proxy. I'll be going back to the back to count the proxy votes as well. We are not going to finalize this section of the election of directors as is in our agenda until I have sufficient time to count the ballots. After I've counted the ballots, I'll come back up to identify who has been elected as directors. Probably I'm going to recommend that since we're sort of switching up the agenda, I'm probably going to recommend that they let you eat without closing the meeting first, because I want to make sure that we triple count, and it will take me some time to count the ballots. So I'm going to vote that you guys get to eat in just a little bit, but for right now, I'm not closing the election yet. I have to allow you an opportunity to vote, and then I will count it, and then I'll come back to finalize that portion. So I am going to turn this back over to Bill, not for designating who the directors are yet, but I do know that they have some awards to be presented tonight. And then once they do the awards, I think we're going to go to the meal, and then I'll finalize. We won't close the meeting yet, and then I will finalize the election. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and I'll be back up.
Thanks, Trace. So logistically speaking, as Tracy mentioned, we're going to kind of move the meeting along. It'll be a little bit unusual till we wrap up the ballot side of it and get that casted. Also at this time, I did want to mention Jeff Wilson on District 2. Jeff's down in Richland County. Jeff, can you stand? Oh, there he is, Jeff. So Jeff, appreciate you coming. And the nominating committee had recommended Jeff to replace PB Finley. Jeff is also a banker with can't say that right. No, that's not right. First Financial Bank. There you go. He got a thumbs up. And he raises Angus cow too. Who doesn't like to eat and who doesn't like to get a car loan, I guess, right? So I appreciate that. Also, if there's any attorneys in here, so future board members that I'm really passionately needing, I need a CPA. I need someone who knows something about cybersecurity. I need somebody who's a lawyer, because we gotta bring in a fabric of folks to lift me, certainly, and all of us to the next level. So if you know anybody who's a member, please let us know, because we definitely would love to talk to them about serving. So now I got a little bit of fun as we're doing some work here. We've got a few awards at this point that I wanted to present. Jimmy, I'm going to have you come up to the stage. So these awards are based upon years of service served, and we're excited and very blessed to have these folks that have been such a great part of our organization, and a big part of what makes the co-op very successful. First, I'm going to recognize P.B. Finley, who has served on the board for 34 years. So as I mentioned in my remarks earlier, P.B. has been on the board really since our origin. And P.B. His farm is north of, you go okay?
I'll be all right.
All right. North of Newton, and so he's been a great ally for us, and we appreciate his years of service. And to that effect, we've given an award. Should we give it to Mary, his wife?
Yeah, she deserves it.
So Mary might need the award more than PB, because you know the thing is, as all of you know, there's always a great woman behind a great man. So that's the case with PB. But I appreciate your years of service, PB. Yeah, the question was, did everyone get a paper ballot? If you didn't, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands up, so I believe that's the case. Thanks. And yeah, I know we're in Illinois, which is vote early and vote often, but we don't have those fancy machines, so you got to give us a little break here. It's my honor to provide an award to Phil Huber for 20 years of service. And I don't know whether Phil, I'm assuming, I didn't even see Phil here. Phil's here? So should I make him come up and give a speech? He hates public speaking, by the way. But there comes Phil. But Phil's been with us 20 years, and kind of a funny story. When we hired Phil, one of the requirements was you had to do a wiring diagram of a motor starter. So those that have been around motor starters would probably know how to do that. And actually, I think we interviewed maybe 3 or 4 people. And so Dean Swingler, who's been with us quite some time, he came to my office and he says, there's only one guy that could do a motor starter, and it was Phil. So we're really grateful to have Phil for 20 years. But come on up here, we'll give you an award and get a picture. Next, we've got a 10-year award to Chad Hancock. Chad, make his way up here. Also, we may do an on deck like they do in baseball. So next, Chuck Schmedley, who's on our board, he's got a 10-year service. So if you can make your way to the podium. I did fail to mention Chad lives down in Olney, Illinois, and has done a great job for us. Next is Chuck Smedley, serving 10 years on the board. Chuck, this is actually his part-time job. His full-time job, I think, is on the county board of Christian County, so we appreciate the double service. Several of our board members are actually also on the county board. I think we have 3 of those, I believe. So it's great to have a good mixture of folks that understand municipal governance. We've got a few, like PB was actually still on the bank board, so it's been a great opportunity to bring those talents together. Next, we've got Vicki Storm, I don't know if Vicky's here. I don't see Stephanie. Stephanie's my assistant, so it's like, we're going to take it she's not here. But anyway, Vicky Storm has been with us 10 years, so we'll present this to her in person, but I did want to recognize her. Next is Gary Morrison, who's also served 10 years on the board. And Gary's over by Trowbridge, which it's kind of a funny name, actually. But he's over and been a great board member for us in Shelby County. Thanks. Thank you. Got it? Uh-oh. Was that me or you? Here, buddy. We're falling apart up here. Name tags are flying everywhere. Also, I wanted to announce, and it was stated in your annual meeting booklet, that this year, those online as well as, I think it's online also, right? Yeah, in person and online. You'll be a part of a water giveaway. So there's going to be 10 lucky members that'll get free water. That's FREE. Free water for 1 year, and it's an allocation of what an average user would use. So we're not going to give it to like a hog farmer that has a $2,000 a month bill or anything like that. Yeah, PB's like, what the heck, man? So that would be a heck of a deal. But at any rate, you'll be hearing more on that probably tomorrow. So keep a line on our social media as well as our website to announce who that would be. We gotta do that. I do want to mention for those, I want to thank you for those that came in person as well as on Zoom, which is a whole new thing. We're also, I think, we ready for the meal? Who wants to eat? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and serve the food. And again, as I mentioned, we won't close the meeting until we've got the ballots done. And then we've also got some prizes, and I will have to tell you, one includes now get this, we're after Super Bowl, so it's not as good, but a 75-inch Samsung LED smart TV, which is opposed to a dumb TV. But at any rate, we've got 3 of those different sizes, so please stay around because we've got some great prizes to give away. But at this point, we'll go ahead. Motion on bylaws? Can we make motions from the floor? Is that allowed? Well, just for voting purposes, for the nomination. Just for nomination? Yeah. Because I'm concerned about the fluoride in the water that you guys are adding. A lot of cities are getting rid of that. Sure. Sure. And I was told by Dean that you guys are required. Yeah, that's a state regulation. So if you want to do something about that, my suggestion would be contact your local state representative or Senate. It's a law, so we can't not follow the law. So that's how you would solve that problem. We can't do anything about it. We're regulated by the EPA. There could be a legal challenge to it, so we could make the motion to have the legal department challenge. What's that? Legal department challenge the law? Challenge the law, yeah. It's probably unconstitutional. There's probably some legal technicality that can be done. Don't know. So. What kind of budget would you propose in something like that? Because it is a statewide problem, and there's 5,000 water systems. So keep that in mind. You could be talking about $100,000, $200,000 to litigate something like that. So is that something worth? Yeah. I tell you, a good idea. We'll research that for you, and we can get back to you. I'd like to make a motion. Sure. To direct the legal department to challenge that law. Can I get a second on it? No second. Nobody is concerned about fluoride in the water. Yeah, me. He seconds it. Mm-hmm. So we got a first and second. You want to expose that? You want to do the first and second? All in favor?
We'll go ahead and take the first motions by Christopher here.
Oh, Cody.
Cody. I'm sorry, Cody. Missed it. We have a second by Floyd Countryman. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Your motion is to have our legal department look into let's get to the motion. What's your motion gonna say? Edgar counties? Okay. Hillary, I've not got a clear definition of what our motion. Give him the mic so we can pick this up. That's fine. We got a concern over the fluoride in the water. It's a state law that we have to put it there. Your motion is going to say that our legal department should file suit against
Testing,
EPA.
testing. You guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of studies out there that shows that there's a health issue with fluoride. Back in June 2021, I talked to Dean and said,
This is not the motion. Give me the motion, then we'll discuss
the motion would be to direct EJ Waters legal department to file whatever lawsuits are necessary so that we can stop putting fluoride in our water,
Okay.
whether that's state
Is
or
that pretty
federal
clear,
lawsuits.
Hillary? Have we got a pretty clear motion there? You're going to get it from him?
Write it down. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think while we're waiting for the motion to be written out here, Jeff Wilson was just recently elected. Jeff, there's a few people on Zoom that would like to see you. So if you would stand up, we got a camera over here that would. Now, I hope we don't break the camera either, Jeff. But there is some. Hey, you're in big demand right now. Are you good? All right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your time. Cody, we're going to have it right here. Hillary, thank you. EJ Water shall direct their legal team to challenge laws requiring fluoride containing chemicals in the water so that we can stop adding them. Cody here. We had a second over here. Tracy. Legal counsel's gonna come right in here. We have a motion, we have a second.
I've just been made aware that there's a motion relative to bringing suit. That's not necessarily a topic that's left to the authority of the members. In fact, under the statute and bylaws, that authority is under the Board of Directors. Notwithstanding that, if the Board of Directors wants to proceed to allow this to go to vote, that's fine. But it will only be advisory, because we'd have to look at authority to sue, whether this entity itself has authority to sue. A whole multitude of legal principles that I'm not necessarily prepared to opine on relative to Environmental Protection Agency right now. But notwithstanding, the board can allow to proceed with this advisory motion and take a vote if they so choose.
This is going to be an advisory motion instead of a dictate to tell us to do it. Membership can't do that. Are you aware of that? Come on. Talk about it.
Just on the litigation issue, the members do drive this organization. So I do want to make sure that message is there, but there are some things that have been delegated by statute and by your contractual agreements, which are your bylaws, your operational documents, and those things have been delegated to your board. And that's when relative to this one topic that's set for motion, that's what is being addressed, not whether or not you have authority on certain things, because you most assuredly do. I want to be very clear that this is a corporation of the members, okay? I was not suggesting that it wasn't. There are many, many laws that you operate under, but the primary law that you do, what you're organized as, you're a not-for-profit corporation, and one of the primary statutes that you're governed by is the Illinois General Not-for-Profit Corporation Act. There's a litany of other statutes that you're governed by, but that's the primary one that you organize under. You're also organized under some as a 501c12, and that's a federal law. But what I'm referring to today, right now, is the General Organizational Statutory Authority, which is the Illinois General Not-for-Profit Corporation Act. No, the act provides what authority the board has. Additionally, your bylaws do as well. So you have to look at both in determining the delegation of authority.
Testing. So I'd like to make a motion then to change the bylaws. Can I get a second on that?
You can't do that today. You can.
There has to be a notice.
We do have the ability to change bylaws, but we have to give proper notice to all of our members, and that
Okay.
hasn't been done.
That's fine. That's fine.
Additionally, I do, because you asked the question, I want to make sure that I'm explaining it. So the bylaws were amended that the Board of Directors was delegated the authority to change the bylaws. The members voted on that in the prior years. Now the members can change that again, amend the bylaws again to take back that authority, but you have to provide notice. It will be done at an annual meeting. So the next available meeting is either an annual meeting or a special meeting called for that purpose of the members. And the bylaws provide the procedure that you have to follow in order to do so.
Okay. Apparently somebody's getting restless. They don't think that health concerns are a problem, apparently.
I'm going to go ahead. It is going to have to be advisory. unless the bylaws are amended in the future, because the authority is on the board to determine to sue on behalf of the corporation. Additionally, I would advise to be careful on, because we haven't been given an opportunity to determine the legality of suing, the procedure of suing, what exact type of cause of action is being referred to. We haven't had an opportunity to evaluate the proposed litigation. I would express there probably should be some caution before we take some formal action on that. But nonetheless, if the board wants to proceed on this advisory motion, please proceed. I have a motion by Mr. Hare, an advisory request that EJ Water Board direct their legal team to challenge laws requiring fluoride-containing chemicals in the water so that we can stop adding. I have a motion by Mr. Hare. Is there a second? I'm sorry, I amended it, so I just want to confirm what the amendment, and sir, your name? Thank you.
You're all right with him?
I have a motion,
Cody, good with you?
but it has to be, because the authority isn't in the members for that motion, I've worded it in such a way to match the authority that the members have.
His motion.
Okay.
Yeah, motion is second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of EJ Water Board, the advisory, EJ Water Board directing their legal team to challenge laws requiring fluoride-containing chemicals in the water so that we can stop adding. All in favor of that, say aye. All opposed, same sign. The nays have it.
At this point, I think we're ready for the food, right? Anyone interested in the food? Who wants a cocktail? I'm thinking about a beer right now. But anyway, sorry on that. So I'm not sure. What? That's a good idea. Let's have a blessing on the food. So if you can bow your heads, please. And we definitely need prayer. Lord, we come to you humbly in front of you, asking for guidance, wisdom, and direction. As a membership-driven co-op, we're blessed to have those that have input, and everybody does have a voice. We just help us to guide and direct our activities and everything that we say and do. May we always be respectful and again, humbly come in front of you. Bless this food to nourish our bodies. Amen. And then we're going to start. Yeah, so up in the middle of the room. They've got a plan. I love a plan. So we're going to start right down the middle. Sounds like, right? Yeah. It's going to be like parting the Red Sea. We're going on here, and so we're going to kind of exit this direction. Because what we're going to do, I'm sure we're going to bring the flow this way. It's almost like a band conductor. We're going out, and then we're coming back. Everyone got that? Out, back. Can you say it out loud? Out, back. There you go. Yeah, they got it. Yeah, and Michael and Kelly will dismiss. So let's get some food. Thank you.
But you are the one I love. After all of the things that we've said and done, you are the one I love. Now there are couples everywhere. Oh, why does everyone care? It's hard to be me and you when all that everyone does is stare. Oh, all that they do is stare. Oh, I know it's the way you hold my heart, but all that shows is the way we fall apart to a world I hate. They'll say what they'll say, but they'll never say enough. Why can't we hide away? All that I need is your face to remind me that I feel this way. Oh, I know it's the way you hold my heart, but all that shows is the way we fall apart to a world I hate. You are the one I love. They'll say what they'll say. They'll never say nothing to a world I hate. You are the one I love. They'll say what they'll say. They'll never say enough. But you are the one I love. You are the one I love. This thing called love, I just can't handle it. This thing called love, I must get around to it. Ain't ready, crazy little thing called love. Well, this thing called love, it cries, it cries all night, it swings, it jives, it shakes all over like a jellyfish. I kinda like it, crazy little thing called love. Well, there goes my baby. She knows how to rock and roll. She drives me crazy. She give me hot and cold fever. She leaves me in a cool, cool sweat. I gotta be cool, relax, get hit, get on my track, take a back seat, hitchhike, take a long ride on my motorbike till I'm ready. Crazy little thing called love. Get on that track, take a back seat, hitchhike, to take a little long ride on my motorbike until I'm ready. Crazy little thing called love. This thing called love, I just can't handle it. This thing called love, I must get around to it. I ain't ready. Crazy little thing called love. Crazy little thing called love. Crazy little thing called love. Crazy safe and so secure. Every day is such a perfect day to spend along with you. I will follow you. Will you follow me? All the days and nights that we know will be. I will stay with you. Will you stay with me? Just one up to me, changing colors on city streets, petals surrounding us in every shade of pink. We happen quickly as humans do. Summer was coming and change was too. Look at me now, I'm falling at your feet. I'm your cherry blossom, baby. Don't let me go away. I hope you haven't forgotten Tokyo wasn't built in a day. I'm a cherry blossom, baby. I don't wanna blow away. When we're on fire, it's something to see. No one can question the chemistry. Even in nature, timing is everything. I'm your cherry blossom, baby. Don't let me blow away. I hope you haven't forgotten Tokyo wasn't built in a day. Yeah, I'm a cherry blossom, baby. I don't wanna blow away. I'm your cherry blossom, baby. Don't let me blow away. I hope you haven't forgotten Tokyo wasn't built in a day. I'm a cherry blossom, baby. Don't wanna blow
Yeah, star-crossed and pleasure. The stream flows on by. Yes, as we sated in leisure, we watch it fly. Yes. And time waits by no one, and it won't wait for me. And time waits by no one, and it won't wait for me. I'm gonna tear down a building or destroy a woman's face. Hours are like diamonds, don't let them waste. Time waits by no one, no favors has he. Time waits by no one, and he won't wait for me. Man, they built hours to their passing, yes. till their fame everlasting. Here it comes chopping and reaping. Here and there, but they're cheating. Time waits for no one, and it won't wait for me. Yes, time waits for no one, and it won't wait for thee. Drink in your summer, gather your corn. The dreams of the nighttime will vanish by dawn. And time waits for no one, and it won't wait for me. Time waits for no one, and it won't wait for me. No, 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 not for me. No.
Hey, if I can have everybody's attention, we have tabulated the ballots. So Tracy's going to give us that report. So if you can have give her your kind attention, I'd appreciate it.
Please go ahead and continue serving. I don't want to interrupt that. I know a lot of people have been waiting to eat, so I can talk loud. I have children, so I have been known to scream. Plus, my husband owns a sawmill, and he's lost all of his hearing, so I can scream that well. So we're back to election of directors, and I have the vote tally, and I'm going to go ahead and announce the vote tally. We'll start with District 1. The nominees were Gail Garby and Cody Hare. Gail Garby received 198 votes for. Cody Hare received 44 votes for. We have 6 abstentions, and we also have 1 bad vote. A person on Zoom voted once for Cody Hare and once for Gail Garby, so that is a bad vote. I do want to announce that one, though, because I want to make sure that all votes are announced. So for District 1, your elected director will be Gail Garby. District 2, the nomination was for Jeff Wilson. He received 226 votes for, with 21 abstentions. District 3, your nomination was for Jimmy Ayers, and he received 229 votes for, with 21 abstentions. To finalize, therefore, the new board of directors, for District 1, the member will be Gail Garby. District 2, Jeff Wilson, and District 3, Jimmy Ayers. I did leave before additional discussion, but I do think, unless Bill, sorry, there you are. Bill, we do need to formally adjourn the meeting unless you have other formal business. Then do you want to make the motion? Do you want to? Okay, go ahead.
Who's up for adjourning? I got 12 hands in the back. You, sir, with the blue shirt. Your name? Art Ewing. Where'd Martha go? Martha. Tracy, could you write down Art Ewing for the motion? Because Martha, I think, is in the back. Yeah, yes. And then a second on that, please. Oh, Jim Perry. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Good. Motion passed. At this point, the meeting is adjourned.